Yo, what's going on, fellas? Welcome into this week's episode of the Highline Podcast. He's, of course, William. I'm, of course, Jason. And we're here to talk NASCAR. We're going to recap the Charlotte Roval race there. And then we'll also, of course, look at the South Point 400 while we're also touch on some major NASCAR news this week with Cole Custer and Tyler Reddick. What's going on there, William?
Not much, man. We're starting the round of 8 this week, and there's 8 drivers still in contention for the 2022 NASCAR Cup Series Championship. At the moment, the top 4 drivers possibly advancing to Phoenix will be the 9 car Chase Elliott. You got Logano and Chastain and Bell. But the bottom 4 drivers right now at the moment is Blaney, Byron, Hamlin, and Briscoe. And the thing about this is that you got 2 drivers right now that are in a tie, and it's Blaney and Byron. And Blaney's got the upper hand because he has higher finishes this year. So in the playoffs, it's going to be very interesting because we go to Vegas, a mile and a half. We've seen how quick the Toyotas and Chevys can be here, and the Fords are kind of struggling with the pace. Miami, same scenario, a mile and a half. Fords are going to struggle. Then we go to Martinsville, that's a wild card. So these next 3 weeks are going to be very pivotal for Chase Briscoe, your Blaney, and Logano because the Fords are not going to be the clear favorites.
These guys better have it wrapped up before Martinsville. Remember, we both thought Martinsville so far was the worst race of the year. And I don't even really think there was a close second. That's how bad. So these guys better not have it come down to that race because it may not be passing again at that one. That was so damn bad and boring. So, all right, let's go ahead, though, and recap that Bank of America Roval 400 where Christopher Bell was able to go ahead and get the victory in a very boring race, such a boring race. Junior and company on the broadcast were talking about how a caution needed to come. A caution came. That's the only reasons people are willing to talk about why the Roval 400 was good or exciting. Otherwise, that was god-awful. Right, William? You agree with me? God-awful.
I agree. It's very unfortunate. I'm a Chase Briscoe fan. Don't get me wrong. I was kind of glad to see him get help throughout the race because of other drivers' miscues. But when you look at it from as a bigger fan of the whole sport in general, not just one individual driver, this weekend sucked. Kyle Larson, your defending Cup champ, had a mechanical issue, taken out. Daniel Suarez, taken out because of a mechanical issue. Very unfortunate to see 2 very popular drivers not have the chance to fight to go to the round of 8. Very unfortunate, and it's going back to the NASCAR cheap parts. They're wanting to be cheap and giving them less reliable stuff. So, very unfortunate there. But besides that, the Roval didn't see anything spectacular. No good racing at all. Could really hardly pass somebody clean at all. And all the moves he had to make to get past somebody were just a bump and run. Simple as that. And there's a lot of issues going on with NASCAR, and passing is definitely one of them, and it's been an issue all season long.
Yeah, it certainly has right there. You know, before that caution came out, it looked like Reddick and Allmendinger damn near gave that race to Chase Elliott with how much longer they stayed out on that green flag pit stops where Elliott pitted earlier and those guys stayed out. Allmendinger justified a little bit there with his crew chief saying that they wanted to get some extra gas should have there been an overtime restart. Okay, credit him. He got the scenario that he wanted to. I guess his is a little bit justified staying out, but they damn near just gave that race to Chase Elliott. But Bell was the first car when the caution came out that he said, you know what? You can't pass on this shitty racetrack today. I need some better tires. And he saw 6 cars in front of him stay out, and he was the first car that went in that pits. That was the winning strategy right there. He would have chased Kevin Harvick down, had that second caution not come out for debris on the track when the curbing came up. He would have caught Kevin Harvick done. He just got to restart and passed them easier, I guess. But, just a great strategy there by Bell. We've seen that 20 team make some great strategy calls throughout this season.
Yeah, they were in a must-win situation, and that's like the first time since 2020 where we saw a driver go into a race having to win to advance.
Oh, we just lost William. He will for sure call back. Let's he'll call back within a second. I'm not too worried about it. He'll call back. All right, now he officially hung up. I'm here by myself. Let's just get William. He'll come back right here. William, what's up, Brian? I see you hanging out there in the chat. You got Logano winning this week, and I was going to wait to throw that up there. You got Logano. You know what? I looked his stats up, Brian. He's got some fantastic numbers at Vegas. He's got 2 wins at Vegas. 4 of his last 7 races, he's been in the top 5. Not recently, though. So let's see if Williams got Logano, though. Gotcha.
All right, embarrassing there, terrible internet.
That
But
happens.
back
Whatever.
to
It's
the
the internet.
topic.
Can't fault the internet. Or
The
you can't.
Roval was boring, and NASCAR's got to do their homework heading into 2023 because the rumors are pointing out right now because we've been talking about crappy parts for the last, I don't know, how many weeks we talking? Like
Did you
last
see? Did you see
4 or
from
5
Adam?
weeks.
Did you see from Adam Stern though? They're making changes to the parts, and NASCAR is going to pay for those parts for every single team. I think that's NASCAR acknowledging that they've rushed this season and they rushed the car because they said, "All right, we'll go ahead and pay for this part change." The first time, that now it's on the teams, but they're going to put the initial bill is going to be on NASCAR.
But what in the world is NASCAR going to do with the teams that have already spent millions of dollars of repair damages this year? That's unfortunate there, and that's what makes me kind of frustrated with NASCAR. Second thing is that they're starting to acknowledge this late in the going that they need to make changes. They should have made this decision that they're going to try to make things a little bit better in 2023 way back in July or something like that, not in mid-October. That's where they messed up. And it's all contributing down to a lot of injuries. We've seen Cody Ware break an ankle. Alex Bowman suffered a concussion. We do not know yet if he will return. Kurt Busch with a concussion. And I got some news. I'm going to hear at some point this weekend in Vegas where Kurt Busch will announce his retirement and Tyler Reddick contract is bought out from RCR and they will race the 45 for next year. And if them rumors are true, that's very unfortunate because the next gen car pretty much forced Kurt Busch into retirement because he was content and going for at least another year. And I thought he would have had a chance to make some noise rumblings in the playoffs this year, but he unfortunately did not because he had a concussion. So very unfortunate there. And I'm so glad to see these last 2 weeks overall, no driver seriously hurt. Talladega, the big one, always expected to happen, never did happen. No one got hurt. And the Roval. In years past, we've seen some very hard hits on the back straightaway chicane and in the front chicane. Luckily, no one got in a bad wreck at all this weekend, and everybody's all right. So that's the positive there.
They couldn't pass. They couldn't get near each other to pass anybody to get in a wreck. You mentioned Kurt Busch. I'm still gutted for Alex Bowman that he didn't really get to compete for his championship. Obviously, not being part of the last 2 races. Even feel bad there for Suarez with his power steering issues. I killed his chances there on this past Sunday. It really was hurting for those 2 guys because they didn't get to really compete for the championship. Feel bad for those 2 guys.
I'll say this: next year, NASCAR's got to do their homework. This is the first time in many years where we've seen multiple drivers get a concussion. So what needs to happen next year in the playoffs, in my opinion, because Alex Bowman, don't get me wrong, he's a very popular driver. And for him to miss 66% of the round of 12 was very unfortunate, and he has no control at all. And it's all NASCAR's fault. I think moving forward, NASCAR should give them a waiver and at least allow the fill-in driver to gain points for them. And something's better than nothing, and I believe that should have happened a long time ago. Ever since the 2020 season, we all know what happened then, where drivers were sidelined from time to time. I'm not going to say the word, but that should have happened a long time ago, and NASCAR has yet to do something about it. And I believe drivers that are filling in for drivers that are sick or hurt sure ought to be able to gain points from them. That's just my opinion.
Like it. Let's go back and talk about this caution, though, because there's a little bit of controversy with this caution. The caution was the only thing that made this race exciting at the end. Otherwise, it would have been boring for 120 laps. Instead, it was boring for 113 laps. You've got multiple drivers, including Kyle Larson, saying that sign was on the track for 20 minutes. If you watch the race like I did, when NBC showed the sign, there's drivers saying it was off the line, but it was not off the line when those guys when they had their camera angle basically like on the track level and those cars were coming around. Their damn near draft was causing the sign to wave. I disagree that the sign was off the line. It was damn near right on the line. And I also disagree that it was there for 20 laps. We haven't heard anything after the fact from NASCAR, but you really think it was there for 20 laps? Because as soon as NBC showed on the broadcast, while they were still showing the sign on the broadcast, that's when you saw on the upper left-hand corner the caution flag come out. So I don't know, man. What do you think? I don't think it was on there for 20 laps.
There ain't no way it was out there for 20 laps. But we did get a kick out, or at least I did. After the race, Clint Boyer, the Fox announcer for NASCAR, made it on Twitter and noted that the sponsor of that sign should ought to get a freebie next year, which they should, because that changed the whole complexity of the race and made it even more exciting. Without that, we would have hardly anything to talk about this week. Daniel Suarez, done. He's out of the round of 12, and he's not making the round of 8. Your defending champ, not making it. We wouldn't be talking about the Briscoe and other things like that going on, and Christopher Bell winning, if it weren't for that sign. That sign changed the outcome of the race significantly.
It did. All right. Well, now we got to get to this Cole Custer situation. You were obviously a Chase Briscoe fan of the 14 car. All right. So this is what happened if people don't know. So during the race, apparently Cole Custer checked up on his car, made it so then Briscoe could gain a couple spots and then obviously move up on the standings. NASCAR has since fined him $100,000, suspended his crew chief indefinitely, and they've basically come to find out that he was communicated on the radio to check up. Now, the reason they didn't take Chase Briscoe's punishment into account or punish Chase Briscoe is A, he owned a tiebreaker over Chase Larson because he had the better results in the playoffs, and B, Chase Briscoe apparently was unaware of what the 41 team was doing. It was apparently an act that they made on their own, and it wasn't communicated to all the Stewart-Haas Racing. So that was your justification for not penalizing Chase Briscoe. I lean on the side of, hey, if you've got information that another driver compromised the finish result standings by doing the kind of actions that he did and checked up, I'm fine with going ahead and punishing Chase Briscoe. Even if he was unaware, you're trying to tell me a teammate was unaware? Like, maybe they didn't have those communications on Wednesday or Thursday. Like, maybe they didn't have those in-race communications because they didn't have to have those in-race communications because everybody knew at the Thursday meeting, hey, boys, if we need to get Briscoe some spots, this is what you need to do, Cole Custer. This is what you need to do, Eric Almirola. I don't believe that Chase Briscoe was fully unaware. He knew some point throughout that week that team strategy was going to help him out if need be. I don't know, man. I think NASCAR's got to, because that just sets a bad precedent. Because now you just don't need to communicate. Now you just don't need to communicate your intentions on the race day. You can just do it on a Friday, do it on a Thursday.
You're exactly correct. I'm a Chase Briscoe fan. Don't get me wrong. Why in the world does Cole Custer need to slow down? Briscoe would have got past the 43. He would have easily made the round of 8 without the 41's help. I don't know why he did that. That was stupid.
Yeah.
Not only did it cost him $100,000, it cost his crew chief, Mike Shiplett, $100,000, and he's suspended indefinitely. And what that means, he's kind of suspended forever, but they can appeal it easily and get him out of the little detention, I guess you can say. But not a good look, Stewart-Haas Racing. Not a good look at all. And if you're going to say, like I'm saying right now, that the Briscoe is wrong, if Briscoe is wrong, if he's wrong, Chase Elliott is wrong from Bristol a year ago. What he did a year ago was much worse than what Briscoe did. He literally got on the radio and said, "Where's the 5? I'm going to help him out." Look up NASCAR Radioactive from Bristol 2021. He changed the outcome of the race. He manipulated it to help out his teammate winning the race, Kyle Larson. If they're going to come hard on Briscoe and blame him, you better blame Chase Elliott. And because Elliott has done a lot worse, and I really try my hardest to refrain from saying this from sometimes, but NASCAR is clearly biased towards the top drivers. Like it really, honestly, it is. Chase Elliott, he gets away with so much, and he does so much, and NASCAR doesn't really do anything. They give him a good old slap on the wrist, and it's not fair for other drivers and teams to have to go and pay these big old fines just because they're doing something. Be more consistent is all I'm asking for, NASCAR, and you clearly cannot do that at all. So we got
they're not consistent on any level with their discipline. They're not consistent.
I'll tell you what, though. NASCAR will get a real big headache if they ever decided to watch Formula One day. Because, good grief, he's talking about team orders over there. But
you know what I'm surprised, William, is I'm surprised they didn't wait until next week to go ahead and not only punish Cole Custer, but go ahead and bring Kyle Larson back in the playoffs. Because I'm still upset that they waited an extra week to go ahead and rescind William Byron's 25-point penalty after a race had been completed.
But if y'all follow, for some of the viewers out there, if you follow Couch Racer, that is a Twitter group that is ran by a group of spotters, You got the spotter of Bubba Wallace. T.J. Majors, I believe, is a part of it. Correct me if I'm wrong. Brett Griffin. Brett Griffin's the biggest one. He works for Colleague Racing. He spots for the 31 and the 16 in Xfinity. But he put out a thing. And for Vegas, the spotters and teams have already got the starting qualifying grid and which car will go out first and second and third. And right beside Kyle Larson, it still has a P for playoff. Is that something to keep an eye on? I know, but he's still in the Owners' Championship, but there's not 9 teams going for the Owners' title. So there's something not adding up here. Is there something we need to know, NASCAR? Please tell me, because if so, it's going to be very big when it comes out.
Interesting. I will say you brought up that Chase Elliott incident last year from Bristol. NASCAR said in their press conference yesterday the difference of that, and they brought it up in their press conference yesterday because they knew they were going to get asked about it. The difference was they said Chase Elliott wasn't given orders where Cole Custer was given orders to check up. They said that was the difference, and that's why they didn't penalize Chase Elliott like they did Cole Custer. He wasn't given orders. Now, I'm with you. I listen to Radioactive every week. I think that is a fantastic show on YouTube. It's absolutely you can't miss. It comes out every Tuesday, and I absolutely cannot wait for it to come out every Tuesday.
All right.
He wasn't given orders like Cole Custer was to check up. I mean, you hear it. He says, check up, check up.
All right. So Custer was told, I guess you can put it in this point of view, like his bosses kind of told him to do the job.
Yeah.
And told him what to do. He's doing his job. He's doing what he's being told. Elliott did not. And there's no consistency at all.
Yeah.
Very frustrating that NASCAR is going this route. Penalize Cole Custer $100,000. That's very, very unprofessional. And let's see here. They totally knew about the checkup and it's way cheating. Yes, it's cheating.
It's cheating. It's 100% cheating.
Yeah.
100%.
It's 100% cheating. I'm a Briscoe fan, and I'll admit it. It's cheating. But they should have done the same exact thing to Elliott 1 year ago. Is all I'm trying to say here.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Anything else you want to talk about at the Roval?
That sign caused a lot of heated arguments.
It made it good. I was watching a good chunk of that race because the Bills were blowing out the Steelers. So I was like, all right, well, kind of the hell with the NFL and kind of really focus in on that race. And it was a snooze face. It was an absolute snooze. I mean, literally, Junior. How many times did Junior say, like, boy, we need a caution? Boy, this race really needs a caution. I mean, it's almost like somebody, like, I don't know, went over to that sign when they weren't on camera and, like, threw it on the racetrack. That's how bad that race needed a caution. Holy hell.
Yeah, that sign, whoever's on that sign, whenever it gets to the public and it's noticeably who the exact sponsor was, that sponsor's going to have a big uptake in the product sales. I'm telling you that right now.
Right. All right, before we go ahead and look at the South Point 400, let's talk about some other major NASCAR news that went ahead and dropped this week. We both predicted this news, so it is not breaking news to us. We were both on this. We both said Tyler Reddick was going to be at 23-11 in 2023. Well, that news became official earlier this week when RCR went ahead and bought out his contract, so he will, in fact, go over and join 23-11 in 2023. Your suspicion and my suspicion all along has been that Kurt Busch is going to go ahead and retire due to some of these health concerns that he has sustained this season. If that's not, then they just need to go out and lease a charter for one season. That's not going to be detrimental. They could probably pull that off from one of these other teams. I think they can lease a charter. They'll pony up enough money. They have enough money, and one of these teams like a Colleague Racing or something will go, okay, yeah, sure. Here's our charter for a year.
But Colleague gets two. Remember, they got Allmendinger going full time.
They got Allmendinger going full time.
Haley, so that's off limits.
Yeah, Haley. Yeah, they're not getting rid of him. That's for sure.
All right, we've already.
So Kurt Busch is going to retire. You're with me though. Kurt Busch is. We've been saying Kurt Busch is. I
say he's going to retire.
He's going to retire.
But in a world he doesn't, what's happening to him? Because Reddick's over there, 23-11 racing. I believe we'll see a Busch brother in the 18 car yet again. Kurt Busch. That's a wild prediction here, folks. Very wild. The odds of that happening are almost slim to none. But he's going to go somewhere else next year. It's definitely not going to be 23-11 racing. If he's anywhere else, it's going to be a Toyota, and 18 car seems most likely because Joe Gibbs still remains to his little point he made in the offseason that Gibbs is going to, his grandson, Ty Gibbs, is going to be in Xfinity for 2 full seasons. And he's a man of his words from the past, so if he keeps up here, someone's going to drive that 18 car, and it could very well be Kurt Busch for 1 year.
To be honest, I can tell you I had not considered that an option. I just assumed he was going to retire, or they were just going to go ahead and lease a charter for a year and have 3 cars under 2311. Interesting. That is not one I considered. So this is gotta. I mean, I guess I don't know. When do you think the news like this is going to go ahead and break in terms of timing wise? Right. We know the season
Vegas,
always starts February.
This weekend, they're expecting it Saturday at 12 p.m.
News with Kurt Busch about what's going to happen with him in 2023.
They got a press conference this Saturday.
Who? 2311.
2311 Racing.
Saturday. So okay. So you think 95% he retires? You think 5%? Just throwing out numbers, but you think 5% he moves to the 18?
I'll put it 80. He retires. 20% he stays and goes to another team. Because there's no way this late in the running 2311 Racing can get a charter for next year. Not likely.
Well, Rich Childress said he could get one. I mean, I didn't believe at the press conference. I was still in believe that Tyler Reddick was going to move to 2311.
A Chevy team will help out. A Chevy team will help out a Chevy team, but a Chevy team won't help out a Toyota. So it's going to be a lot harder for a Toyota to gain a charter. So that's my take on it.
Okay, love it. All right, let's go ahead and now move over to the South Point 400. That's, of course, the first race here in the round of 8 at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. We're in this round of 8. We'll be at Las Vegas, we'll be at Homestead, and we will be at Martinsville. But here at Las Vegas, the last 3 winners have been Alex Bowman in the spring. Hamlin won this race last time we were here for the playoffs, and Larson won it last spring when we were here. What are we thinking here for this race? You kind of touched on it, and I had it here in my notes to talk about how probably Chevy and Toyotas will probably be more predominant figure standings there in the top 10. Otherwise, I'm kind of looking, if you look at these playoff standings here, I'm kind of really looking for Bell to maybe do something fancy. He's just kind of has pulled the right strings. Really love that move that he pulled this past weekend. And again, he's been pulling similar moves like that throughout this season. What do we think here with Vegas?
I'm looking at Vegas. I'm thinking Chase Elliott is obviously going to be quick. Logano is either hit or miss. Either he's going to go out there and be very good and go for the win, or he's going to just suck. Straight up. That's for all the fours.
He sucked the last 3 times, though, they've come here. His stats look great on paper, but then when you look at what he's done recently at Vegas, he's not been doing good at Vegas recently.
But Chastain, I do have a big question mark around him. Bell, not so much. I believe Bell, he has a lot of momentum on his side. He can take that momentum and ride his way to the championship 4 if he wanted to. Ryan Blaney, still a little bit of question marks around him. William Byron, not too sold. Denny Hamlin, I'm kind of there with him. And Chase Briscoe, he just needs to go down, get on his knees, and pray because he's not going to win Vegas. But so I'm looking at your Chase Elliott here. Your Logano, I'll just throw him in there. Bell, and Hamlin. Those are the 4 or 5 drivers that I'm looking at that I believe that can go to victory lane. The others are going to have to just be consistent this round. Remember, folks, there's only 3 races this round. So there's going to be only 3 drivers that possibly advance to the Final 4 on wins. So there's going to be that one spot where you have to point your way in. So that's going to be very crucial.
I actually like Chastain here. I kind of liked his numbers when I was digging into him earlier on this week. And I actually like when a team loses a playoff driver because now all their resources can get funneled to that one guy. So I think Chastain will even get a bump with Suarez now being eliminated as Trackhouse really puts their attention on that number 1 team. So all right, I think we've kind of generally agreed. Let's go ahead now and jump on over there now to the NBC Sports Predictor app, of course, where you can win $10,000. They give you 3 stages. You got to pick the driver to finish best amongst the stage. And then, of course, you got to go ahead and give them a top 3. William, I was close last week. I had Elliott P1 and Allmendinger P2. If it wasn't for that sign, I would have nailed P1 and P2. I had it. Damn it, I was so damn close last week. Hey, all season long, folks, I give away $25 to the winner of the Winning Bets League. Whoever has the most points every single race week can take my $25. If we take a look last week, it looks like it was XNG for life. He had 50 points. He got the second and third stages correct, and he correctly had Christopher Bell winning that race. So nice entry, my man. Hit me up on Twitter. Drop me your PayPal information, and I'll make sure I'll go ahead and send you that $25. All right, let's go ahead now and jump into our picks. In stage 1, we had a pick between Kyle Busch, Austin Dillon, Kyle Larson, and Daniel Suarez. Let's throw up our picks, and you can say who you picked. There's mine, and there's yours. Looks like, you went Larson on your pick. Okay.
I am picking Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson may be out of the playoffs. May well. He's going to go out there.
He's out.
And
Quit trying to bring up more drama here. He's out, William. He's out. We're not going to 9.
He's out.
We're not finishing Praise Briscoe after that. He's out.
All right. He's out of the playoffs. I know for 100% fact that he's still in the owner's title. He's going to go out there and still give it his all. If he wins this race, he makes the Final Four for the owner's championship. And the owner's championship pays a lot of this right here. So Rick Hendrick is still going to be very hard on this 5 team moving forward. And that's a promise there. But Kyle Larson, I believe, is going to be the best driver out of this whole group in stage number 1. So I want to say.
I'm not big on Kyle Larson. He's had too many issues this season. Obviously, he's not going to be as dominant he was in last season, but he's just had too many issues for me to like Kyle Larson. I went ahead and went with Kyle Busch, and I really couldn't ignore his stats here. 3rd best average finish, 7th best driver rating here since 2019. His last 3 races here at Vegas, he's got a 4th place finish, a 3rd place finish, and a 3rd place finish here at Vegas. I liked him. Again, I couldn't really trust Kyle Larson. Just been too hit or miss for me this season. There's no way in hell I was picking Austin Dillon, and taking Suarez over Busch, that just wasn't something I was willing to do. So Kyle Busch for me. All right, for stage 2, we had to pick between Blano, Briscoe, Byron, and Hamlin. It looks like you went with your guy Briscoe. I went with Denny Hamlin. Look, his 2 of his last 3, he's finished in the top 4 at Vegas. The other one was a DNF, so really couldn't control that. His last 4 races in stage 1 and stage 2 has all been in the top 10, and 7 of those 8 stages have all been in the top 4. And in those 4 races, he's led 336 laps here at Vegas. I'm loving Denny Hamlin this week, so give me him.
Earlier in the video, I mentioned that Briscoe was not a part of the group I was looking at to be serious contenders for a win. In the recent mile and a half in the 2nd stage, we have seen a lot of cautions. And there will be some drivers pitting, and there'll be some drivers staying out for points. And I believe Briscoe will be that driver to go for points. They know they're going to be lacking pace, so they need to pick up as much points as they can through 4 stages. So that's why I got Chase Briscoe for stage number 2. Not going to be quick, but he will grab a couple of points here.
All right, and for stage 3, we had to pick between Bell, Chastain, Elliott, Logano. It looks like you went with Bell, and I went with Chastain. Look, he nailed his setup when they were here back in March. 3rd, 1st, and 3rd is how he finished those 3 stages. Look for him to bring another strong effort here. And again, Trackhouse has lost Suarez, so he's just going to get all Trackhouse's attention. I'm looking for Chastain to have a really, really nice weekend here at Las Vegas. You went with Bell. How come you went with Bell?
All right, the word of the week is momentum. Christopher Bell has a lot of momentum on his side, and I believe stage 3, the winner will come out from this group. And he's going to have a good weekend, I believe, and he's going to be the driver I go with here for stage number 3, which kind of corresponds with my race picks.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and pull up those race picks. Why don't you justify your top 3, and I'll work on pulling mine up. You went with, you got Bell winning the race. Back to back.
Christopher Bell. All right, we're going to start from 3rd. 3rd to be Chastain. He's going to have a good weekend. Briscoe 2nd. My winner, though,
Briscoe's 2nd. Wait, he's not going to have the speed. He's going to be off the pace. But my homer is I'm going to go ahead and slide him up in 2nd.
Look, wrecks are going to happen. This track races like a super speedway for the first 5 laps after a restart because they're so tight. And eventually, once they go to lap 6 and 7 of a run, that's when drivers start pulling away and opening up big gaps. But remember, in the spring, though, not really no big gap was formed. Kyle Busch, Truex, and Logano, they all kept it close. So we don't know how it's going to be. It may be Logano's going to win this weekend. We'll see. But in the spring, nobody actually ran away with it. So I believe we'll see a lot closer racing. We'll see some more wrecks. So I think Briscoe will work his way up. So will Chastain. But Christopher Bell, though, he's in a league of his own right now. If there's one driver out there that can bring the fight to Chase Elliott, it is Christopher Bell. I am riding high on Bell. I believe he's going to go out there and win the championship this year, and it all starts this round.
All right, love it right there. All right, I agree with you in terms of having Chastain, and I went Denny Hamlin to go ahead and get the win. I talked about him earlier. I talked about Chastain in P2. The only driver I haven't talked about that I have in my top 3 is William Byron. You talk about momentum. We've kind of not been able to team up lately because I was sick and you were sick last week. Remember, it was like after 4 races of the playoffs, there were 3 drivers. It was Byron, Hamlin, and Bell were the only 3 drivers that had finished each playoff race in the top 10. So maybe Byron's not getting the checkered flag, not getting in the victory lane, but he's right there at the end. 2 of his last 3 finishes here at Vegas have been in the top 10. 3 of his last 4 stages, we're talking stage 1 and stage 2, have all been in the top 5. He's going to get more resources with Larson and Bowman out. I hear you for the owner championship. But I think he's going to get a benefit from a little bit more of those extra resources, mainly from Bowman. So I went ahead and threw Byron in there. Just really like what he's been doing at Vegas the last few times he's been at this track.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting weekend. Hold on, I'm doing something real quick. And here is one thing to keep an eye on this weekend.
All right. I love this. What's coming? Love it. Intrigue.
Tires. Because remember, last time we went out to a mile and a half, Texas, we saw a lot of tires go down.
Yep.
A lot of bad wrecks. So
that's where everybody then rode off Bell, right? He had the disastrous race at Texas, and everybody rode off Bell. It's like, well, he's got to win his way in. He said, okay, well, I'll get you some pit strategy here at the Roval. I'll win my way in, damn it.
Low air pressures is the way to go with this weekend. If you go high, you may risk an incident happening. So for all the crew chiefs out there, set up your low air pressures. Don't risk nothing.
We got another one here from Jesse. He's on Blaney.
Yeah.
He's on Blaney while he gives us a nice compliment. Appreciate that, Jesse.
Thank you. Blaney.
Blaney just hasn't. He's been top 5s. He's been top 10s. He can't. To your point, you're saying monkey off the back. He can't get that monkey off his back. It's like weighing him down. He can't quite do it. Remember, he almost messed up the All-Star race. He damn near screwed up his only win of the season. Now, it wasn't obviously in a points-paying race, but damn near screwed it up.
He'll get his monkey off his back. It may be in 2023. Definitely not in 22.
He's just been a touch off the pace. He's gonna be top 10. He's gonna be probably top 5. Just been a touch off the pace when it comes to these other drivers so far this season.
Yeah.
But good luck, Jesse. Sounds like you'll put Blaney in on your chance to win $10,000. I'm always rooting for you guys, so hopefully you can go ahead and snatch that money. All right, that's how we're doing it. There are no Fox Bet Super 6 apps. I looked on my phone just before we jumped on here. They haven't got that contest up, so we won't talk Fox Bet Super 6. So that's it here on the Highline Podcast. Let's go and enjoy the South Point 400 at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. When we come back, we'll be at Homestead is where we'll be next week, guys. So we'll recap what happens down at Vegas, and then we'll turn our attention down to Homestead, which will be playoff race number 2 here in the round of 8. Good having you back, William. Glad you're healthy now. Enjoy Vegas. We'll see you back here next week, man.